Imagine you are scrolling through your phone and you come across a video that looks a bit grainy. Perhaps it is in black and white. Or maybe the audio is filled with the crackle of old film. You see a creature moving, breathing, and looking directly into the lens. But then a realization hits you like a ton of bricks. This animal, this specific individual you are watching right this second, no longer exists. In fact, nothing like it exists anywhere on Earth. You are looking at a ghost captured in light and shadow. While photographs are haunting, there is something uniquely visceral about video. It captures the gait, the blink of an eye, and the twitch of a tail. It reminds us that these were not just museum specimens or entries in a biology textbook. They were living, feeling beings. Today, we are going to witness 7 of the most incredible and heartbreaking final videos of extinct animals. These films represent the absolute last moments humanity ever recorded of these species before they vanished into the silent halls of history. We are going to explore who they were, what happened to them, and what these haunting images have to teach us about the world we still have left to save. If you are ready to see the living spirit of the vanished, let us dive straight into the footage. First on our list is perhaps the most famous piece of extinction footage in existence, the last known Tasmanian tiger, or thylacine. The film was shot in 1933 at the Hobart Zoo in Tasmania, and it features a male named Benjamin. In the video, you can see Benjamin pacing back and forth in a concrete and wire enclosure. He has these incredible dark stripes across his lower back, and a jaw that could open to an astonishing 90-degree angle. As he walks, you notice his stiff kangaroo-like tail and the way he gingerly places his paws. He looks restless, perhaps even a bit stressed by the presence of the cameraman. The tragedy of this footage is that Benjamin was actually captured from the wild just a few years prior. He was a survivor of a systematic campaign by humans to wipe out his kind because they were wrongly blamed for livestock losses. What makes this video even more poignant is that Benjamin passed away just 3 years after this was filmed. In 1936, legend says he was accidentally locked out of his sheltered sleeping quarters on a night of extreme temperature fluctuations. When he breathed his last, an entire evolutionary lineage that had existed for millions of years was snuffed out. Watching him pace in that footage is like watching the final seconds of a countdown that we can never reset. It is a powerful reminder of how quickly beauty can slip through our fingers when we fail to protect it. Next, we move to the dense, high-altitude forests of Hawaii to hear a sound that will stay with you forever. This is the final video and audio recording of the Kauai, a beautiful black bird with yellow leg tufts. The video, taken in 1987, shows a solo male hopping through the branches, calling out with a haunting, flute-like melody. But if you listen closely to the recording, you realize the true heartbreak. He is performing a mating song, a duet that requires a female to sing a specific response. In the video, the male pauses after every phrase, tilting his head and waiting for a reply that will never come. He was the last of his kind. His mate had likely vanished years before, perhaps taken by avian malaria or habitat loss. He didn't know he was the last one. He spent his final days singing to an empty forest, hoping against hope that somewhere out there, another Kauai Awas was listening. This footage is widely considered one of the saddest recordings in natural history. It captures the literal loneliness of extinction. When that bird finally fell silent, a unique song that had echoed through the Hawaiian valleys for eons disappeared forever. It serves as a stark reminder that extinction isn't just about numbers. It is about the loss of unique calls, behaviors, and relationships that make up the fabric of life. Our third video takes us to the vast open waters of the Yangtze River in China. This is the final confirmed footage of the Baiji, also known as the Yangtze River dolphin. The video, captured in the early 2000s, shows a pale, sleek shape breaking the surface of the murky water. The Baiji was often called the goddess of the Yangtze because of its grace and its ancient pull on local folklore. This dolphin had lived in that river for 20 million years, surviving countless geological changes, but it could not survive the rapid industrialization of its home. The video is grainy and brief, showing the dolphin swimming near a boat. It is almost ghost-like, appearing for a brief second before slipping back into the depths. By 2006, scientists conducted a massive high-tech search of the entire river to find even one survivor, but they came up empty-handed. The Baiji was declared functionally extinct. It was the first time in human history that an entire family of cetaceans was wiped out by human activity. This footage is a window into a world that became too loud, too polluted, and too crowded for one of its most ancient inhabitants. It is a chilling record of a goddess retreating from the world once and for all. Fourth on the list is a creature that almost looks like it belongs in a myth: the ivory-billed woodpecker. For decades, this bird was the holy grail of birdwatching, often called the Lord God bird, because of the exclamation people would make when they saw its massive size and striking plumage. While there has been much debate about recent sightings, the most definitive and historic footage comes from the 1930s and 40s. The film shows these giant woodpeckers hammering away at ancient trees in the swamps of the southern United States. They were magnificent, with their ivory-colored beaks and bold red crests. The video captures their powerful flight and the way they commanded the old-growth forests they called home. However, as those forests were cleared for timber, the ivory-billed woodpecker lost its world. The footage is a portal to a wilderness that no longer exists in its true, primary form. Watching them in these old films, you can see the strength and vitality of a species that was once the king of the canopy. Even if they are gone, their legend continues to haunt the swamps. And these videos are the only proof we have that such a magnificent creature once shared our air. For our fifth video, we look at the incredible story of the heath hen. Similar to the passenger pigeon, the heath hen was once incredibly common across the eastern United States. By the early 20th century, they were down to their last stronghold on the island of Martha's Vineyard. Footage from the late 1920s captures a group of these birds. And eventually, the very last individual, known affectionately as Booming Ben. In the video, you can see him performing his elaborate mating display, puffing out orange air sacs on his neck, and making a low, resonant booming sound. He was surrounded by researchers and photographers who knew his time was short. The video captures the frantic energy of a bird trying to fulfill its biological destiny. Ben was last seen in 1932, and when he disappeared, the coastal prairies of New England lost their most characteristic voice. This footage is unique because it shows the intense scientific effort to document a species in its final hours. It shows the realization of a community that they were witnessing the end of an era. Ben's dance, captured on film, is a beautiful but tragic performance for an audience of one. 6 on our list is a much more recent loss, and one that happened under the careful watch of conservationists. This is the footage of the last Pinta Island tortoise, Lonesome George. George was found in 1971 on an island where his species was thought to have been wiped out by goats. For the next 40 years, he lived at the Charles Darwin Research Station in the Galapagos. Thousands of videos exist of George showing him slowly moving through his enclosure, stretching his long neck to reach for cactus pads, and interacting with his keepers. He was a global celebrity, a living symbol of the extinction crisis. In the videos, George looks ancient, like a survivor from another time. He was estimated to be over 100 years old. Scientists tried every possible method to get him to reproduce with related tortoises, but it was never successful. When George passed away in 2012, his story became a global headline. The footage of him represents the weight of being the absolute last one. He was a gentle giant who spent nearly half a century in the spotlight, reminding us every single day of what we stand to lose. Seeing him move in those videos, so slow and deliberate, makes the finality of his departure feel even more heavy. Finally, we come to a video that is as haunting as it is beautiful, featuring the Barbary lion. The Barbary lion was the king of the North African wilderness, famous for its massive dark mane that extended far down its belly. These were the lions that the Romans used in their colosseums. While there are lions in zoos today that claim to have Barbary ancestry, the last truly wild Barbary lion was captured in footage from the early 20th century. The film shows these majestic predators in a rugged, mountainous landscape. They look different from the lions we see on the Serengeti. They look adapted to the cold and the heights. The footage is flickering and silent, but the power of the animals is unmistakable. Their intense gaze and the sheer volume of their manes make them look like creatures of royalty. As their habitat was destroyed and they were hunted for sport, their numbers plummeted. This video is the final record of the true wild kings of the Atlas Mountains. It is a reminder that even the most powerful and feared predators on Earth are not immune to the changes brought by human expansion. So why do these videos matter? Why do millions of people watch them every year? It is because they provide a bridge between the world of the living and the world of the vanished. In our modern lives, we often feel disconnected from nature. We see animals as things that exist on screens or in distant parks. But when you watch Benjamin the thylacine pace in his cage, or hear the kawaii call for a mate, that distance disappears. You realize that these were individuals. They had lives. They had memories. Since the loss of Lonesome George and the Baiji, there has been a massive surge in conservation technology. We are now using drones to track endangered species, genetic sequencing to understand their health, and massive rewilding projects to bring back their homes. These videos serve as the never-again manifestos of the conservation world. They remind us of the cost of inaction. They show us exactly what we are fighting for. When we see what we have lost, we become more determined to protect what is left. There are animals alive today whose final videos have not yet been filmed. The vaquita porpoise, the northern white rhino, the kakapo. For them, there is still a chance. Think about the researchers who stood behind the cameras in these videos. Many of them were bird watchers, zookeepers, or simple nature lovers who felt a profound sense of duty. They knew they were documenting the end of a story, and they wanted to make sure we wouldn't forget. Because of their efforts, these animals haven't completely disappeared. They live on in our digital archives and in our collective memory. They continue to teach us, to move us, and to push us toward a better relationship with the planet. The camera lens became a life raft for their memory. Extinction is often described as a quiet process. It happens in the deep ocean, in the canopy of a rainforest, or in a remote zoo enclosure after the gates have closed for the night. But these videos bring that quiet process into the light. They make it loud. They make it visible. They take the abstract concept of biodiversity loss and turn it into something we can see and feel. That emotional connection is vital. We don't protect things because of statistics. We protect them because we care about them. And it is impossible not to care when you look into the eyes of the last of a kind. It is also worth reflecting on the resilience of these animals. In almost every one of these videos, the animal is doing what it has always done. The thylacine is pacing. The bird is singing. The dolphin is swimming. The tortoise is eating. They were not failures of nature. They were masterpieces of evolution, perfectly tuned to their environments. They didn't fail to survive. The world changed beneath them at a speed that nature never intended. Our role as humans has shifted from being just another participant in the ecosystem to being the architects of the global environment. These videos show us what happens when we design that environment without leaving room for anyone else. However, the story doesn't have to be one of constant loss. In recent years, we have seen incredible success stories. The bald eagle, the humpback whale, and the giant panda have all been brought back from the brink of extinction through dedicated effort. These success stories exist because people saw the final videos of other species and decided they didn't want to see any more. The sadness of the Kauai o'o's song has fueled the passion of those working to save the remaining Hawaiian forest birds. The loss of the thylacine has made Australians fierce defenders of the Tasmanian devil. Every extinction we watch in these films is a lesson that is being applied somewhere else today to save a life. As you go about your day, perhaps take a moment to look at the animals that share your world. The common birds in your yard, the squirrels in the park, the insects in your garden. They are all part of a grand, interconnected web of life that has been spinning for billions of years. Each one of them is a miracle of survival. By learning about the ones we have lost, we develop a deeper appreciation for the ones we still have. We realize that nothing is guaranteed. Life is a gift that requires our stewardship. The digital age has given us a strange new form of immortality. 100 years ago, when a species went extinct, it was mostly just gone. Maybe there was a stuffed skin in a museum, but the memory of its movement and its voice faded with the people who saw it alive. Today we can share these final moments with billions of people instantly. We can keep the flame of their existence alive in a way that was never before possible. This is a great responsibility. We are the keepers of the ghosts. We are the storytellers for those who can no longer tell their own story. The footage of Lonesome George is especially poignant in this regard. He was the most famous tortoise in history. Millions of people visited him, and millions more watched him online. He became a sort of ambassador for the Galapagos. His death wasn't just the loss of a tortoise, it was the loss of a friend for the world. But because we have that footage, George is still an ambassador. He still teaches children about evolution and conservation. He still represents the Pinta Island tortoise. Even though he is gone, he is still working to save the planet. That is the power of the recorded image. Let's also consider the birds that sing in the early morning. To us, it's just a pleasant sound. But after hearing the Kauai-u call for a mate that was never there, every bird song feels more precious. It is a communication, a connection, a sign that the lineage is continuing. Every time you hear a songbird in your neighborhood, remember that you are hearing the sound of success. You are hearing a species that is active, healthy, and thriving. Let's make sure those songs never turn into solitary duets like the one we heard in that 1987 recording. The Yangtze River is now the focus of one of the largest restoration projects in history. While it may be too late for the Baiji, the efforts to clean up the river and regulate traffic are helping to save the Yangtze finless porpoise. This cousin of the Baiji is now the focus of intense protection. The tragic footage of the goddess of the Yangtze served as a wake-up call that the river was reaching a breaking point. It is a heavy price to pay, but it is a legacy that ensures their loss wasn't in vain. Even the Barbary lion, though gone from the wild, has a legacy. The lions in the royal collection of the King of Morocco are believed to be the most direct descendants of those mountain kings. Because of the interest sparked by those old films, there is an ongoing effort to use DNA testing to identify the most pure Barbary descendants in zoos, and perhaps, one day, reintroduce them to protected areas in the Atlas Mountains. The video provides the visual blueprint of what we are trying to restore. It gives us a goal to work toward. Ultimately, these 7 videos are a call to action. They tell us that we have the power to destroy, but we also have the power to protect and restore. They show us that the thread of life is thin, but it is also incredibly ancient and strong, if we give it a chance. When you close this video and go back to your life, carry the memory of these animals with you. Let their pacing, their singing, and their swimming remind you that you are part of something much bigger than yourself. We are the only species on Earth that can mourn the loss of another species. That empathy is our greatest strength. It is what drives us to build sanctuaries, to pass laws, and to dedicate our lives to the wild. Let that empathy guide your choices. Support conservation organizations, reduce your impact on the habitats of others, and spread the word about the beautiful diversity of our planet. Every time someone learns about the Thylacine or Lonesome George, the chance of another extinction decreases just a little bit. The story of life on Earth is billions of years old, and we are currently writing the most critical chapter. We get to decide how many voices will be in the choir of the future. We get to decide which animals our grandchildren will see in the wild, and which ones they will only see in grainy, black and white videos. Let's make sure we leave them more than just ghosts. Let's leave them a world that is vibrant, loud, and full of life. The final videos of these animals are not just archives of the past. They are warnings for the future. They are the silent witnesses to our mistakes, but they are also the sparks for our movements. When we watch them, we are doing more than just observing history. We are participating in a moment of global reflection. We are acknowledging the beauty that was and the urgency of what is. Let's honor the memory of the vanished by becoming the champions of the living. Think of the ripples in the Yangtze, the echoes in the Hawaiian forests, and the tracks in the Australian bush. Those signs of life may be gone for these 7 species, but the Earth is still full of ripples, echoes, and tracks. Let's protect them. Let's treasure them. And let's ensure that the final video of any species becomes a thing of the ancient past, a relic of a time before we learned how to truly share this beautiful home. Thank you for watching and for caring about the stories of these incredible creatures. Their lives matter, and their stories are part of our history. By remembering them, we keep their dignity alive, and we find the strength to protect the wonders that still remain. Let's move forward with a renewed sense of wonder and a commitment to the wild. The world is a better place with every species that calls it home. Let's keep it that way. As we conclude, take one last look at those images in your mind. Benjamin pacing, George eating, the Baiji swimming. They are no longer here, but they are not forgotten. Their legacy is the movement we build together to save the planet. Their legacy is you. Let's make it a legacy of life, of recovery, and of a future where every creature has its place under the sun. The story of the vanished is a difficult one to hear, but it is the one that will help us write a better story for the future. Let's get to work.